Hey summoners, make sure you're subscribed to the Mobalytics YouTube channel and hit that bell button, that way you're always up to date and part of our notification squad. Hello summoners and welcome back to Mobalytics, where today we have the patch 8.22 video tier list. As you saw in the awesome intro, make sure you check out our new stat site. It's going to be the best and most comprehensive stat site in League of Legends for you. Anything you'll ever need, you're going to find it right there between the records tab, champion filters, whatever it is, LP graphs, it's all there for you. So make sure you check it out, and let's get into the tier list video. Oh, and one more thing, we have a Worlds giveaway coming to an end very soon, so check the link in the description down below. Check out the giveaway and enter in before you don't have a chance anymore. It's ending very soon. Starting off in the top lane, we do have Garen being all alone and feeling a bit lonely in the S tier rank, but we do have a lot of A and B tier champions. It's just that Garen is so far above the rest for climbing right now, but some of the other things that are more mechanically intensive and harder to learn, like Kled or Rumble or Rengar top lane, are still very good. They're just so much harder to play than him. Garen has a baseline level effectiveness of climbing. Fiora is a champion that has worked her way into B tier. She did get some bug fixes on her lunge in this patch, and with the Essence Reaver buff on the previous patch, it's not an amazing item on her for a first item, but it can be pretty funny and insane as a late game item, so don't underestimate how good that is. And with Fiora, make sure you're also always taking that Grasp of the Undying. She has a great laning phase with it. The rest of the top lane list, honestly, I really like. I see some things here that are pretty good, and you shouldn't underestimate. Things like Volibear top with both Aftershock and Grasp are fantastic. Kellen is pretty good. Victor received some nerfs on this patch, so he's easing his way back down a little bit into B tier. Heimerdinger top is good and oppressive, and of course you've got your four big hitters of hard to play champions but have a fantastic investment in Yasuo, Camille, Riven, and Fiora. Make sure you put time into those champions if you like them, because you will be rewarded later on in higher elos. For the high elo top lane list, again, things like Riven and Rengar and Camille all shoot way up when you put some time into them. The other things are things like Jack's doing well, things like Pantheon is surprisingly good. With Pantheon, you actually want to take Aftershock. It's very good, and some of the higher elo Pantheons have made that work. Urgot is pretty much the same, Ken and Sion pretty much the same, and Kled Rumble all good. Okay, on to our junglers. We have Udyr, Amumu, Jax, Shaco doing well in S tier. Shaco is a champion that is one-tricked a lot, and he is a champion that has a significantly harder learning curve than the other three champions in S tier, but consistently this champion is just good in solo queue. Whether one-tricked or not, he's fantastic at climbing and carrying games. We also have our first pick of the week in Kha'Zix from Adam, so let's get into that now. Adam chose Kha'Zix because he is a champion that has a fantastic investment. Same thing we were talking about with Shaco here. Technically, in the lower brackets and for lower elo players, Kha'Zix tends to struggle. The only thing is that given the time investment and how good he is for carrying, this means that we consider him worth it to pick up and try. There are a lot of champions, a lot of champions in League that are pretty tough to play and have a high learning curve. Things like Aatrox, Aurelia, Gangplank, but not all of the champions who are hard to play have a fantastic investment for solo queue play. Things like Shaco and Kha'Zix do, however, and that's why we recommend him. Kha'Zix did receive some buffs on the Worlds patch, and even though Dark Harvest was nerfed shortly after that, he still does okay with it. And don't be surprised or sleep on Phase Rush Kha'Zix. There is one guy in Korea who is challenger with Phase Rush Kha'Zix. It's not bad at all. For our high elo jungle list, as always, some of the carries are big movers here. Things like Camille, things like Taliyah and Nidalee all shoot way up with elo and higher elo brackets. We have Ivern being good, and if you guys know anything about me, I love that champion. Make sure you give Ivern a try. I personally prefer the Guardian page as opposed to Airy or Augment, but neither of those are that bad. I just prefer Guardian. In the mid lane, the definition of this role right now is a mixed bag. That's the only way to describe it truly. Even in S tier, we have one control mage and zoning mage, we have an assassin, and we have somebody who's more of a support. We have all kinds of different things that are good right now. For mid lane, we also have our second pick of the week in A tier, which we will get to in a second. I know you guys want to talk about that one from me. We have Malzahar, Veigar, Vel'Koz, Lux, Fizz, some of the stuff you've seen in our A tier for a while. We've slotted in Rumble mid, and if you need some context on Rumble mid, make sure you check out our recent video talking about champions who can be played in other roles. I went into detail there with the runes, why Rumble mid is good, so if you'd like your explanation on Rumble mid, make sure you check out that video. Okay, mid lane Pyke. This is going to be my pick of the week. Why is he in A tier anyway, and why is Pyke in the mid lane? Pyke mid is something we've seen before from Caps and others in solo queue, and in theory, of course, it's not that bad. I mean, Pyke is an assassin, even if he's normally played as a more tanky aftershock support. The thing is that he's receiving some changes on this patch that does hurt his tank support, but buffs his lethality builds, especially once he gets some items and the late game. For mid lane Pyke, baby, you want to take that electrocute into the resolve tree with a full lethality build. He does have bad wave clear, so getting a Tiamat will be nice, and try to build Moby boots and run around the map and roam just like any champion like an assassin, Katarina, or Talon would do. He does feel really good to play in this role due to his damage and having so much CC anyway with his Q and E, so he has a baseline level of effectiveness even if you do feed. And of course in solo queue, the exact opposite of that, he always has potential to pop off. For high elo mid lane, we've explained this a couple of times now, why Talon does so much better in high elo, having a deceptively high learning curve, and the fact that you really need to know how to play the map as Talon, even if it's not so hard to get some kills. He is just above the rest, really good in solo queue right now, carries games, and does well across high elo in every single region. We have received many questions about Annie in high elo, so let's finally get into the explanation in trying to figure this one out. Firstly, why is Annie good in high elo and why is she on our high elo list? To be 100% honest and transparent, the three of us thought about this, looked at it, looked at the stats, and looked at the guys who are literally getting Challenger with Annie right now. Even AnnieBot recently just hit Challenger once again. Why is Annie good in high elo? We're not 100% sure. Yes, Annie is easy, but that doesn't always mean that she's good only in low elo. I mean, Jax and Sona are easy champions, and these are champions that are in S tier and A tier on our tier list. Annie just has this stigma of being like the easiest mid laner to play, but she is good in high elo right now. You'll either want to take Electrocute or Predator, so try out the runes and try out the build with Spellbinder and figure out why Annie is so good in high elo and report back to us. What are your guys' theory as why Annie is getting some high elo one tricks doing well as having good high elo stats? Try to figure out why and maybe leave a comment down below. Why do you think Annie does so much better in high elo than low elo? Okay, on to the bot laners. We have our final pick of the week in Karthus bot lane in A tier, which of course we'll talk about. We also have some more non-traditional stuff. Honestly, in solo queue right now, ADC is at a bit of a loss or an identity crisis. You have this issue that most of the normal traditional marksmen, although some of them are pretty good, especially in high elo things like Kai'Sa, you just don't have enough of them doing well to warrant them being great for climbing. The thing you have to remember is that most of the reason that a lot of ADCs are sticking to traditional ADCs is that's what they want to play and that's where they feel comfortable. Honestly, playing something like Veigar bot lane doesn't really make a lot of sense for somebody who's an Ezreal or Lucian main. The thing is that you should take this if you play other roles, maybe if you like Veigar mid lane and start playing him bot lane because honestly he's a little bit better there. So Karthus bot A tier. Is Mobalytics trolling me? Well, X Yasuo main X? Probably not. No, we're not trolling you. Mages are good in the bot lane now, and Karthus is one of the few that is leading the way. Karthus has consistent, reliable damage with Defile, but his main draw to bot lane is how good this lay waste is. You can think about it like this: if you're always getting poked and harassed by a CC support and Blitzcrank is looking to hook you right away, well then you also have a Karthus who's looking to poke you and hit you with Qs. Actually, it's pretty funny. Here is a clip of Adam, you know, the one on our tier list, Moriarty, who's playing against Doublelift, and Doublelift is complaining about the damage that Karthus Balean does. He was playing it versus him.
Oh, baby. This hurts, dude. Holy this hurts.
For the high elo bottom laners, we do have Lucian, Heimerdinger, and Draven holding it up in S tier. Karthus, Veigar, and Vel'Koz are all there. Yasuo goes down a bit, but still is very good for high elo. Some more traditional marksmen, and even Kalista finally does make it onto our tier list. The one thing about Kalista, if you guys have played her recently, the champion honestly isn't that bad. She would even be A tier if she wasn't so buggy. Her jump, her passive feels really off and cancels a lot of autos. She honestly is pretty buggy, and once Riot fixes her, we generally think she will be a really good champion, and if they're able to bug fix her, she'll probably be picked in competitive play once again. She's not that bad, she's just super buggy. And last but not least, moving on to the supports. Brandon, Zyra hold it down in S tier, Sona, Taric, Nami, and Thresh are looking good for A tier, and the rest of it is standard stuff, a couple mages, a couple tanks, a couple more carry supports or whatever you would call them, like Bard and Xerath and stuff like that. But you do have mostly standard stuff or things that you would expect in the support role based on our previous tier lists. It's not that we're necessarily skipping over support, it's honestly just that it's been pretty much the same and nothing huge is changing for the support role. Let's go into the high elo supports, where you do see Pyke work his way back into B tier, but one thing about Pyke is that we'll just have to see how bad the tank support nerfs really hit him, especially with Aftershock and stuff like that. We already went over that in my pick of the week. As far as the rest of the stuff, you do see Zillion being okay here, Bard, Zyra, Taric, and Sona, and then Thresh kind of stands alone once again in S tier. We went over him last week, why he's so good for high elo supports, but honestly, it's mostly the same. Anyway, this has been the Mobalytics patch 8.22 video tier list. The preseason is fastly approaching on the very next patch, so this is going to be your last patch to climb ranked. Go get them, guys. You got this. There's like 5 days left in the season or something like that, so make sure you climb and use the product at mobalytics.gg.